Everybody, I am going to be talking about the concept of the mole and kind of just how we can use that to help navigate through different problems in chemistry, like this one. How many grams of glucose are produced when a plant drinks a quarter cup of water? So you guys probably know, but photosynthesis is the chemical reaction that takes place when a plant, it takes in carbon dioxide and it takes in water. It uses that to create glucose, which is its food, and it also puts out oxygen. So we are going to try to figure out, when you have a quarter cup of water that it takes in, how many grams of glucose is it going to put out? So just something you can either measure or look up, but 1 cup of water equals 240 milliliters, or we can also write that as 240 grams of water. So if that's the case, then 1/4 of a cup of water equals 60 grams. So if we have 60 grams of water, how many grams of glucose? We need to figure out a way to relate these. We're going to use moles. So first we got to figure out how many moles is 60 grams of water. We're just going to use the same method that we learned in the textbook, just using that little chart. We have hydrogen and oxygen. If you look in the periodic table, hydrogen is going to weigh 1.008 grams per mole, and oxygen 16 grams per mole. But because it's H2O, we have 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen, and then if you just multiply those together, 16 times 1, obviously still just 16. Now we're going to add those. That gives us 18.016, or because we have 4 sig figs, we're going to say 18.02 grams per mole. But remember, so that's how many grams there are in 1 mole of H2O, but we have 60 grams. So we have 60 grams of H2O, and there's 18.02. So to figure that out, we're going to, let's see, we need grams on the bottom to cancel each other out. So we have 18.02 grams, and that's 1 mole. So we just multiply these together. Our grams cancel out, and that gives us 60 over 18.02 moles, and that is going to equal 3.3 moles. So 60 grams of water is 3.3 moles of water. Now we need to figure out how to get from that to figuring out how much glucose we have. Now remember, when we look at our formula, we see that there are 6 carbon dioxide molecules for every 6 H2O molecules, and there are 6 H2O molecules for every 1, that's implied, glucose molecule, and then same for this 6 oxygen. So we know if we have 3.3 moles of H2O, that means we also have 3.3 moles of carbon dioxide, right? So we have that, and then that is going to give us our mystery amount of C6H12O6 plus, again, because there's 6 oxygen, we know there's 6 water, it's also going to give us 3.3 moles of O2. So how do we figure out how many moles there are? Well, just like this is a 1-to-1 ratio, this is going to be a 6-to-1 ratio. So there's 6 water molecules for every 1 glucose molecule. We just have to figure out what is 3.3 divided into 6 parts. So that would be 0.55 moles. So now we figured out, in this chemical reaction with 60 grams of water, we are going to get out 0.55 moles of glucose. Now we need to figure out how many grams of glucose that is. So now, just like we did for H2O, we're going to use that same method. Say we have carbon, we have hydrogen, and we have oxygen. Carbon is going to be, again, all this is in the periodic table, 12.01 grams per mole. hydrogen is 1.008, and oxygen again is 16.00. And we need to multiply this by the amount we have. So we have 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, and 6 oxygen. And now it's just a matter of multiplying these and then adding them up. So that means in total we have 72.06 grams of carbon for every 1 glucose molecule, and then 12.096 hydrogen, and then 96 grams. We'll add these up together, and that is going to give us 180.156, or we have 4 sig figs, we're going to say 180.2 grams. There's 180.2 grams for every 1 mole of glucose. But we don't have 1 mole, right? We have 0.55 moles. So now we need to figure out how many grams there are. We're just going to multiply, because my mole is already on the bottom, which is where it needs to be to cancel out. We're just going to multiply that by 0.55 moles. Like I said, moles cancel out, and now all we have is 180.2 grams times 5.5. And you can either use a calculator, or if you're good at math, props to you, but that is going to give us 99.11 grams of C6H12O6, or 99.11 grams of glucose. So you can see, just by switching these over to moles, we can see the relationship between them and figure out if one plant drinks a 1/4 cup of water and all of that water goes into that reaction, it is going to put out 99.11 grams of glucose. Awesome. Thanks, guys.